Okay, welcome everyone to this afternoon's session. The title is The Future of Design with WOW. I'd like to address that initially. If the person who came up with the title is in the room, please make yourself known, because I'd like to shake your hand and then stamp on your feet. Obviously, we won't be addressing the entire future of design, but we will be looking at design practice for our special guest in the room today. It's an insurmountable task for an hour and a half, but not if we switch our focus from what will be, and instead celebrate about who will be rather than what will be. We have today the very best of Manchester's creative crop. We have Brendan Dawes from Magnetic North. We have Daryl Hardman from 423, Chris Gray from Toy, and our special guests, WOW Design from Japan. We have Mika Iwasaka and Takashi Aoki. So can I ask for the first speaker today? We'll have about 4 presentations, approximately 20 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end, so if you can save any questions until then. Thank you. So, Mika?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. We are representing WOW here at FutureEverything. My name is Mika Iwasaka, an international project manager.
My name is Takashi Aoki, and I'm a programmer and director for WOW.
Today, we would like to introduce our company, WOW, and talk about the future of design through our latest activities. WOW is a visual design studio based in Sendai, northeast city of Japan, also Tokyo in Japan. And in 2009, we established WOW Europe in Florence, in Italy. First of all, please watch our short video featuring range of our works. Our works have included short films, advertisements, video and interactive installations, and software development, such as iPhone and iPad applications. Sorry, it was a bit long video, but when viewing our latest project, it's clear that we have focused on two major points. Firstly, that we have challenged ourselves to cross the boundaries between design, programming, and art. And secondly, that we have drawn out each designer's individuality as much as possible. As following, Takashi will talk about the app art project, including our iPhone and applications.
Thank you. If I may, I would like to talk about how WOW has been combining the fields of art, design, and programming by creating installation works and more recently with the development of creative applications. This interactive installation is based on themes of memory and water. Raindrop interact with the people's shadow to generate visual patterns and sound, creating a work that people of all ages can enjoy. Light Rain was most recently shown at the Decode exhibition in London's Victoria and Albert Museum. Based on discussion with the cognitive scientists, we developed Factory and Fantasy from the idea that people inhabit two worlds, reality and imagination. We worked together with a product designer and other artists to realize this project. For us, Factory and Fantasy was a chance to discover what different fields could bring to visual design. WOW has been interested in ways of presenting its digital art project to a wider audience. Last year, we began App Art, a series of interactive artworks for mobile devices. WOW's intention is to make of aesthetic beauty and functional value. To achieve this, WOW has built a new developer team called WOW Dev. At WOW Dev, we create software focused on integrating art, design, and programming. This year, we released Adlib, our first application in the Apple series. Our key intention with Adlib was to experiment in automating graphic design, enabling the user to change any photograph into a work of graphic art. The software generates new images from a set of design rules inspired by 20th century theories of layout, typography, and grid systems, paying homage to Mura Brockman and Emil Luder. We are also careful to make the user interface accessible and friendly. Users can share their images through Twitter, Our next application with upper series is for iPad. It's currently in progress. And this time we are interested in the history of motion graphics and musical animation, inspired by the techniques and ideas of McLaren, Bass, and Fischinger. We feel that their works are special because they dealt with sound and vision equally, creating audiovisual composition. Like Adlib, this project highlights the experimental approach of WowDev and is the first application with key interests in sound. Also for this project, we collaborate with the sound and graphic designer Alex Peveret, who is currently working on Sendai, originally from Liverpool. He's one of the owners of a record label called Acacia Records and an artist of Scam Record. Recently, his artwork are included into the Advanced Beauty that is released by Universal Everything.
Our projects are driven by each of our designers' individuality. For the recent WOW ID project, we have drawn out each individual's personal talent and style as much as possible. Our designers start from their original objective, and from there, they create video works with their own personal touch. Not only is it a pure attempt at a new form of visual design, but also creates a competitive environment which healthily stimulates each designer to do their best and enhances their motivation. I would like to show 3 videos, Pisanri, Suiren, and Otome as follows. Pisanri means dandelion in English. Sorry for the tricky pronunciation in English. Our creators presented a range of materials, repeatedly self-deprecating, reintegrating, and rearranging themselves like dandelion puffballs in a cycle of self-replication. Second one, Suiren means lotus in English, which is made by Tomoya Kimpara. This is a solo work in which he pursues the types of creative techniques that he most excels at. The third one is otome, which is a Japanese expression for nymph or girlishness, and uses the ballerina as its central subject matter. The source materials were actual photographed images of a ballerina, which were then shaped into each designer's interpretation of otome. The ballerina featured in this movie is also a staff member at WOW. The term of design is often strongly related to the existence of clients, but there are always creatives behind each design. WOW is a studio and a group, but we cherish each individual's talent and spark it brings to our works. The whole theme of the future of design is very broad, but we feel our engagement with design is not limited to conventional designing, and perhaps leads into post-design. We are continually discovering the tremendous possibilities of visual design. And from there, we have crossed the borders between design, programming, and art. We have always challenged new fields such as the App Art project, and we believe this challenging attitude produces surprises like our studio name, WOW. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Takashi. Thank you. I should explain, actually, the nature of WOW's visit. It was last year that the festival director for FutureEverything, Drew Hemmett, attended a festival in Sendai, Japan, Occur, and kick-started a collaboration and exchange program between Manchester and Sendai. So at the moment, we have John Grant from local digital agency Kahuna in Sendai at this moment, and later this year, we'll be sending further creative agencies across to Japan, and for the start, what we hope will be a long and rewarding experience. So can I ask our next speaker, which is Chris Gray of Toy, which is a recently hatched creative agency for the city. So recent that there's still a bit of yolk in your head. No, not really. Chris, take it away. It's up to you. You don't have to.
Hi. Okay, for my talk, it was going to be a little bit different, as I didn't really want to focus too much on the work and talk more about the idea behind Toy and what it wants to try and become and be, and the people I try and work with, and what's going to happen and what has happened over the last year. I've always been quite good at documenting bits that I've done and stuff that's maybe not that important, but I quite like it anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to go through it, but I thought I'd start right from the beginning and just talk about what has influenced me to even start Toy and what that has made it. So yeah, back a good few years ago, I asked if I could follow around some photographers. This is Christoph Shaw from Shaw & Shaw. I'm sure a few people know them. I've always been really interested in like learning about what people do and how they do it, and if they can teach me stuff that I don't know, and what that will teach me, and how that influences my work and stuff like that. So I basically followed them with a little point and shoot camera for a few days, and I made a film and took some pictures and basically turned it into a video, which was then shown to the client, and they loved it. And then so much so that a few films down the line, they decided to invest in that as an idea and start to produce more films. So I was given like a good budget to buy a camera and go on tour around Europe, basically making these films. So yeah, it was a case of just starting off on something really small, and after a little while just starting to go and do something new and bigger with the idea. So yeah, basically after it started off, went to some amazing hotels like this, which was in Barcelona somewhere, and it was just going around, and I thought it was really amazing because you go to all these places and they're a bit kind of dark and dingy and horrible, but they're great at the same time. Like the people you meet there and how the stuff you talk about, it really like blew my mind at the time. So yeah, basically like you went to these places and it was like beautifully sunny weather outside, and I spent most of it indoors filming in the cold in a warehouse, which was a bit grim, but still really good at the same time. But yeah, so whilst I'm like traveling, you go and visit all these galleries and stuff, and that would really influence me a lot. And this was when I was in, I think it was in Newcastle. I still don't know who the photographer is, but I love it. But I never would have seen it unless I would have traveled around and always made the effort to go and visit these places. And I just thought, this is great. You know, I'm doing this job and I'm working, but I'm meeting all these people, being influenced in all these interesting ways, and get to see all this art that I would never really see. And then when it came back to going to work, and it was like, it's all right, just do my job and whatever. But then I started to get into just thought I'd just do some bits of myself. So this was like a competition entry that I just did during my lunch hour one day. And it was like part of 3,000 entries from 70 countries to do it. And I got a phone call off Marcus Freytag saying I'd won the competition, which was amazing. I totally didn't expect it. But like I really believed in the company and what they were doing as well. It was like, you know, with the whole idea with the truck is that it goes around Europe for 5 years and then it's cut up and turned into bags, and then it's like sustainable and good design. And I thought that was amazing. I thought, this is great. This is what I want to do. If I can figure out how to turn this into kind of a business model. So it's kind of, you're just doing stuff you love, but then you figure out how to make money from it in a way that then it can be reinvested in good stuff. And then basically I started to meet more and more people. Like this guy is called John Bohm. He's one of the artists now on Toy, but he would hate me having his picture on screen. He doesn't like anyone to know who he is. But he's an amazing guy. Like the stories that he's spoken to me about just blew my mind. Like all the stuff he's traveled the world, and he can draw the stuff that I really love it. I think it's really good. But he was always like too afraid to kind of do it full time because he's got a wife and a kid, and it's too much of a commitment, and he's a care worker, so most of his time was just spent like looking after elderly people or heavily disabled people, and that influenced his work in an amazing way. So like when I got to work with him and speak to him, like that was really good for me, and I loved it a lot. So yeah, I spoke to him about like doing something with this idea I had that was toy, and maybe we could work together and do something really interesting together. And then I met these two. The guy on the right is Nicholas Tual, and the guy on the left is David Sparshot. And another thing that always stuck in my mind was when I spoke to Nicholas Tual, he'd done a load of work in America, and it was like 2 months worth of work for this big advertising agency. And he clearly wasn't getting paid enough for the work he was doing. And then basically the job was cancelled, and he lost everything and made no money from the job whatsoever. And was just left just like, yeah, thanks for your time. See you later. That's great. And I really hated that as just a method of dealing with artists. And, you know, he'd put his heart and soul into something, and it just meant nothing, and he was just left completely out of pocket. So, yeah, so I set up Toy, and it was this thing, and it was like, commercial work was one thing, but it was okay, but it was just kind of a means to an end. So we'd get this stuff in, and we were really lucky, like started off straight away, and then got a project like from PSP, and it was just to design all this new illustration work, which was, you know, it was great and it was fun to do, and we like everyone worked really hard on it. It was part of it. Like this one was by Jiro Bevis, another one of the people on Toy. But yeah, it was kind of one of them things whereby everything that we tried to do, if we made money from it, we'd try and reinvest it into something else. So I think we're waiting to the end, but yeah, so there was all these people I started to work with, and they all had like skill bases that would be really good to share. So this guy, Nicholas Saunders, was a screen printer by trade. So we thought, well, we've made some money, so we're really small, this is really early days. So it's like, well, we've made a little bit of money and you can screen print, so let's screen print some stuff. So basically spent a day just with him, and then I got to learn how to screen print properly because I'd always ballsed it up in the past and a terrible job of it. But it was great, just did it in the studio. It was just the cost of some t-shirts, which was nothing. The downside is I took the screen home and tried to wash it out of my bath, but it was Plastisol ink. So I pretty much lined my bath with black, which took quite a while to get off, but it was all right. But yeah, it was just a fun thing to do. It wasn't like, it was for no reason. It was just we had it and it was fun and everyone enjoyed it, and that was good. But yeah, so Nick Saunders, he was, screen printer, but he was the same. So got him involved with Toy, and I got a phone call from the head buyer from Macy's, which was crazy because I'd only just started this business thing. I was like, I'm not ready to deal with crazy, aggressive American people. And it was terrifying. It was really terrifying. But yeah, it's like, I want to do these commissions, and it was kind of like, I'd had these contracts that I'd done, and it was like, I said, oh, I'll send you the contract. And then she was like, no, you won't. We'll send you our contract. I was like, shit, okay, yeah, I'm really sorry. But it was okay. And then So yeah, I started to work with them, and it was kind of like, it was good, but you could tell there was so many changes had to be made. And again, it was great. Like, he put his heart and soul into it, and it was a really short turnaround. But yeah, so he made some money, and like I made some money through Toy. So it was like, again, let's try and keep on producing some of our own stuff and keep pushing it forward. So we kind of share skill bases again. So Nick was great, but he's really clumsy and really sloppy. So like, if you ever asked him to paint anything, bad idea. Like, paint would just go everywhere, and it would just be splashed on the floor. And he's trying to take photographs of his work, and it was just a disaster. So like, my thing that I could help him do is like bring in his work, and we'll figure out how we could shoot it and get his portfolio working a bit better, and maybe that would then benefit me, and then it all works out in the end. But yeah, so after a little while, got this big job in, which we didn't really expect again, and it was to do this thing for Umbro, because it had just been bought by Nike, and they moved building, and they were trying to change all their image and like lose this kind of like horrible old man football image and try and be a bit kind of cooler and invest in all kind of Manchester talent. Because when I actually started to learn about Umbro, it was really interesting. It was like started by tailors, and it was all about well-crafted clothes, and it wasn't about cheap, horrible aftershave that you pick up in Superdrug or any of that. It was really amazing. So yeah, they gave us like 3 weeks, and they were like, come into our space and just do stuff. Do what you do in 3 weeks. I was like, okay, shit, all right, sure. So we went in, and it was absolutely terrifying. It was like that, but for like 3 stories. I think it was something like 90,000 square feet. And it was just kind of, we had to figure out what the hell we were going to do in 3 weeks, which was crazy. But yeah, so we kind of got everyone together again, which was the nicest thing about it. And every day we'd sit on the grass at the front and eat lunch together and talk about all these things and what we could do with the idea of Toy and what it would be. And like, everyone loved working together. But yeah, so over the course of the 3 weeks, we just did some stuff on the walls. Like, this one was David's spar shot, and it was about Hand of God. But we thought we'd mix it up a little bit and change it around. But the nicest thing about that is all the builders that would come in, they would love it. And that made me feel like I was doing like a good thing. It wasn't like design for designers or anything like that. Like, they were taking pictures on their mobile phones and sending it to their friends and talking to us about it. And that was like the nicest thing. It was like, it wasn't for anyone. It was just for anyone who wanted to enjoy it could. So yeah, after that we took him out for a meal after being heckled all day and lied about it being his birthday. So he got a sparkler. Again, he would hate me for having that picture in there. But yeah, so the final outcome was brilliant. So it's kind of like, it went from me working with other artists, it went from that to being like Toy, working with other agencies as well, like collaboration-wise. So this was Toy, and there was Checkland Kinsley-Side, who were like an architectural and interior design company who did this stuff. And then there was Love, who I'd known and worked for in the past as well. So it was really nice. So the final outcome like started to look really great, and it was like just having bits of artwork on the wall, and you know, just a nice feeling. Like, here it's still quite stale because they had to move all their stuff back in. So this was just like with the basic furniture and the artwork. But I saw it a few weeks later, and they brought all this really nice bits in, and they scattered it everywhere, and there's all bits of toys and stuff, and it was great. And it wasn't trying too hard either. It was just, it had like a nice feeling, and people were working, and it wasn't like one of them horrible things when they have pinball machines, and it wasn't like that. It just felt like an okay space. So yeah, so we just kind of did quite a lot of drawing in that amount of time. But yeah, the one thing that stuck into my mind that I really liked is that the people we work with were obviously really talented people as well. So it does us a real service, the fact that like you would do something on the wall, like the scene that was drawn is from like a really famous old football match where there's a streaker. But the nicest thing about it is that when you put it back by the side of other people's really nice ideas, that it was great, and it was like so nice. It was like people sharing ideas and how things could sit together nicely, and then how that would work, and that was really exciting for me. But yeah, so out of that, there was a few different things that came of it. So myself and Steve, who was a designer at the agency, like went down to Lincolnshire, I think. They asked us to produce a load more work that was going to go off to America for all their stores. And they'd bought into one of the ideas, and the ideas were being rolled out across all the different places, and that was great. And the other thing is we got asked by it's a company called Studio Output, and they put on this thing called Glug, and we got asked to just do these events which was amazing. Again, we've done 2 of them now. So this one was, I think it's in Hoxton somewhere, and we kind of get all the artists together again, which is really nice. And they paid for Nicolas Tual to come over from France, and he was there for the day. And then we met loads of more people, other people there, sorry. So you can tell, if you can't really see on there that well, but the only person who's really drinking a lot of beer is Nick Saunders on the far left-hand side, putting in a good show for Toy. But yeah, so out of all these different things, it was like always the same idea was keep reinvesting. And like every time we made some money, it was like, how can we keep pushing it further and taking this idea further and like do something more exciting? So we made an okay amount of money. So it's like, right, well, I'm going to buy like this gallery standard printer. And it was a kind of a real impulse buy. Like I decided in the morning and I kind of bought it by the afternoon. But it was something that just seemed like a good idea. And it was kind of a lot of money, but I was like, oh, forget it, it'll be fine, we'll figure it out. So we bought this printer, and it was just like, yeah, it's a printer, it's fine. But we thought, well, we can use it to start producing our own work, and that's even nicer. So we can just start doing our own things, and you can print it, you can print on roll, you can print on weird paper, and that's nice, and that's good. So after a little while, we thought it'd be really nice to kind of do something this work we put on. So I contacted this guy in a blue jumper, and his name is Fabian, and he runs a gallery in Berlin. And we sent a few emails backwards and forwards and said, like, you know, that we never had a launch party for Toy because it's really small and it was nothing, and I didn't know if it was even going to work. But we kind of were almost a year in, and it'd be really nice to throw like a party and just throw every bit of money we've got into this one night blowout party. So this is going to be great. So yeah, so he was like, got really into it, and he was like, sure, he'd help me do it. So we designed the poster. So we got all our friends involved who we thought, this is nice. Like we can go with Toy, we can go beyond just the designers and artists. So we started working a lot with some DJs. I think they're part of the FutureEverything thing as well, so they start making sense. And also there was one guy who I'd met that I really liked his work called Rob Bailey, and I'd asked him to be part of Toy as well because his work was great, and he's also like an artist in resident for FutureEverything as well. So it was kind of really starting to pull these people together who were all in Manchester, but just kind of doing really exciting things in my opinion. So yeah, we kind of paid the money just to kind of take over the town a little bit, which was really great. And it was, you know, the best thing is when we arrived, and it just kind of, the first time I saw one of those pictures, it was like a real weird moment. It was kind of like, oh, we're doing it and it's real and how good this is. And, you know, we seem to have come quite a long way in a year. So yeah, this is early days enthusiasm. So the drive is like a 34-hour round trip. So this is like 5 hours in. This is when we picked up all the artists from London, and we went on to the Euro Tunnel, I think it's called, and then drove 15 hours to Germany. When we got there, we stayed with a guy I've known for a little while. His name is Glenn. He runs the design blog Form 55. He's a really, really lovely guy. But he like lives in this empire his family has created, which is insane. Like this is his house, and it's 3 aircraft hangars. So he lives in the middle one. It's crazy. He lives in the middle one. There's one that's the next one, which is a bar. And you go upstairs in the bar, and it's like this private little stairwell. And if there's just a button, and you press the button, this guy shows up with a tray full of beer for you. Amazing. So after like this massive 15-hour drive, that is perfect. It was really good. And the last one is like a Chinese restaurant, which is really weird. So we put on this amazing spread for us when we got there, and obviously we were absolutely tired out of our minds. So this was so good for us, and it was really nice. So yeah, like the next day, after a few drinks and some good food and a bit of sleep, like, it's a shame we haven't got pictures of the actual thing. It's amazing because his dad is this amazing architect and he builds these crazy buildings, but I'd go on for too long if I was talking about that. So yeah, we set off on the rest of the drive into Berlin, but everyone was looking a bit ill by then because it was kind of a long way. But yeah, so basically we got to Berlin and we started putting up all the work, and it was all stuff that people had done for themselves, and how nice that was. And it was kind of a good few days of everyone getting stuck in and putting the work up and really getting involved. And you know, it was a great little space. It wasn't a big deal. It was just kind of nice. And everyone kind of raised the bar, I thought, with the work they produced. Like, it wasn't what you'd normally expect. So although it's kind of early days, so a lot of it was printed, there was other bits in there that was made that was like vinyl or cut, or it was hand drawn, or there was something about it that made it maybe a little bit more interesting than normal. So yeah, so the final thing looked kind of nice, I thought. And then we had the launch, and I was panicking like mad. I thought, no one's going to come. We've paid for all these people to come. Well, got DJs are flying out. We've driven there. We've got other people flying out to do this one thing. But luckily, it started to pick up a little bit, and it got to this, and I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing all right. This is okay. So then everyone who was there, we said, let's all go out for a meal together because we're here now. We've done it and we've made it. So yeah, we all went for this meal. And after we finished, I was trying to see if anyone was coming to the exhibition. And the nicest thing is I actually finally looked and realized it was like that. You can't really see, but it was wall to wall full of people. And I didn't expect it at all. And it was really amazing for me. Because I spoke to the guy who owned the gallery, and he said never to expect that many people, because it was something like the day before had been minus 12 degrees. So you never really get that many people coming to a show. And I think that night it was really cold. But yeah, everyone put in a good show and came along. But yeah, so basically the future for me with the design and what I do is there's the guy DJing is a good friend of mine. He's called Steve. And basically Steve is he's a scientist by trade. He's a DJ, but he's also a designer. So he doesn't really fit in anywhere. He doesn't he works for an agency, but he likes it, but he doesn't know if it's right for him and stuff. So he's kind of thinking he doesn't know what to do. So the next step for me is I want to invest in a space for these people. So basically where I've been this morning actually, which is why I'm covered in dust, is we're looking into getting a big open studio space, and that's the next thing. And it's the space we're looking at the moment is kind of going to be, if we can figure it out with electrics and costs and all that stuff, it's a place for all those people to come where they can be a permanent artist or a semi-permanent artist, and they can do a stint there. And it's hopefully they don't have to be an artist. They could be a musician. They can make props. They could do whatever they want. And over the course of the year, I felt I've met some amazing people, just for little conversations about people who make prosthetic noses, or people who just do props, or people who do upholstery, and how amazing that is, and how good it'd be to get them people in one space and inspire each other and do something amazing with it. So, but beyond that as well, there's a thing where it's working with other people who are around Europe. I've been speaking to this guy. He's been emailing me quite a lot over the last few months, and he's an artist in Oslo, and he does these insane patterns where you think they tile, but then you realise that they don't, and they're just massive, and he's drawn them perfectly on this large format. So I said that we would help him produce fabric and then work with maybe some fashion thing and produce clothing for it. Or one of the things we definitely want to do is start producing some furniture or something like that with the idea, and how nice that would be. But I don't know if anything will come of it. I don't expect anyone to be we'll give you this massive furniture commission, but it's just a really nice thing to do, and how good that would be. So yeah, that's basically it. But the whole thing with Toy, it's we've just crossed a year. So hopefully if we can get to this point in a year, hopefully next year, if I'm doing another talk, it can be a bigger space with more people who are really interested. And it could be there's one in Manchester, there could be one in Berlin, there could be anywhere. I don't know, but hopefully, I could do some work with just the whole thing is with. I think Brian asked me what is the whole philosophy of what I do, and it's kind of well, if I can work with the most amazing people I can find, and it doesn't matter where they live, how old they are or what their experience is, and as long as we can have as much fun doing it, then I'm happy, and that's good. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Chris. That whole presentation felt like one long, amazing apology for heading up such a talented team of people. So if there's any roles going for washing up or cleaning the toilets at Toy, I'd like to apply myself. Then our next speaker is Daryl Hardman with 423. Some of you may actually know of 423's other side, which is a fantastic coffee shop and cafe called An Outlet in the Northern Quarter. You're not talking about that today, but I definitely recommend it. It's an amazing space.
While we switch over, do you want to take that question from that guy?
Yeah, we can take one question. We're saving the questions until the very end, but if anyone did have a question, just while we switch presentations.
Oh, sorry. So just right at the beginning, how did you essentially get the business? I mean, do you actively sell, or do you just get noticed because you're featured, say, in Creative Review or whatever the kind of.
So exit one there.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, well, there's a few different things. I was really lucky because the agency I used to work for, they said they would help me in every way possible. But I was a real kind of pain in the ass when I was just starting out. I just emailed a lot of people, and I felt like I kind of knew kind of a lot of people, and like especially the people like Form 55 and the design blog. I've been pestering for years, and it's kind of like you soon realise that when you try and launch something like that, they all try and help you out as best they can, and they kind of just they put you everywhere. And then you just get like one commission, and then it's kind of big maybe, and then that just it snowballs quite easily. I found from there.
Given that the session is called the future of design,
Yeah.
what would you actually say was the future more of design as a whole, rather than either what you're going to do in terms of you're just going to get a lot of people together? Because surely other people have had the same idea of let's get talented people together in one space. That's not anything particularly new, is it?
No, I don't think so. I don't really know what the future design is. I think Bren said to me, like, do I have a manifesto about this kind of stuff? And I was like, no way. Because I mean, like, in a year, it's something that could completely change. And I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about the future design. And it's nothing new. It's like the Bar House, whatever, how many years ago was that? And that was bringing people together. But if I can just do it anyway, and maybe do it in a way that feels right, then maybe that is a little bit different in somehow. I don't know. I think it's just a learning experience. Like I said, I've only been doing this a year. So, I mean, in the next year, when I find and work with these more people, then I might be able to answer in a different way. But who knows? Totally, who knows?
We can talk about this and more questions at the end, but if I was to take that question about the future design and apply it to Chris's talk, I would say that for me, I was thinking from what you were saying about the ethics of design, perhaps. You talked a lot about protecting the staff, about investing in the staff, about having freedom. You talked very little about the clients themselves. Ethics, corporate work, not necessarily don't always go together. And perhaps we can talk about this as a group at the end as well, but I'd certainly be interested to know more about if that's where the future of design is heading, is kind of personal and moral responsibility. Are we ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Here we go.
Cheers, thank you. Hello everybody, I'm Daryl. Creative Director and co-founder of 423. 423 is a creative agency established in 2004, February, by individuals with backgrounds in graphic design, music and fine art. And we currently have a team of 12 fairly talented people. We call it a boutique agency, multidisciplinary, and we are primarily based in Manchester, but we have a satellite office in London. Just a little bit about the name 423. It is a biblical reference. It's Act 4, verse 23, which means, in being let go, they went on to their own company and reported that all chief priests and elders had said unto them. We get asked a few times where the name comes from, and we picked this out. We found this, Googled it, and we thought it was really interesting in terms of myself having a graphic design background, and the other two co-founders. One was based in music, and the other fine art. And as a collective, we came together and formed 423. We create objects, advertising campaigns, we do visual identity, texts, short films, and we devise and implement marketing, communication and branding, positioning strategy. The first project I just want to touch briefly on was something we worked on last year, which is original modern. which you may be familiar with. It was the phrase Peter Saville came up with as I don't know if you can call it a strap line, but we'll call it a strap line for Manchester. The problem with original modern was that it was never explained other than in kind of very sort of in Peter's words, and it wasn't accessible to people. So what we researched, we worked with workshops, and we thought that the original modern was what Manchester gives to the world. So we created 6 values. The first value being make a contribution to the city. The second value by introducing a new idea and being progressive. A third value of challenge convention. And you must think globally and be ambitious. Together, that kind of reiterated the concept of original modern. So we took a series of exemplars, organisations based in Manchester. There were community groups, there were buildings, there were public services, there were small businesses. And we devised this, well, we created a book, essentially. And through the book, there were 12 exemplars, and each highlighted how they had made a contribution to the city, how they'd introduced a new idea, or challenge convention, etc. So the book was a series of data visualization graphics, where the journey took the reader from the beginning of what contribution they had made to the city, and how their journey was to make them original modern. And the book was 44 pages in the end. The second project I just want to talk briefly about is Crisio. And Crisio is the Olympic 400 metres gold medalist. And we were contacted by her agent to create an identity for Chrissy. We use the word identity, and we didn't like the idea of brand. We weren't necessarily creating a brand for Chrissy. It was more an identity. And we devised a logo which was based on our research found that Christine was of Nigerian descent, very proud of her heritage. And the research, we unearthed a Nigerian butterfly, which was a blue-winged butterfly. And we took that concept, referenced the Olympic rings of her being the 400 metres Olympic medalist, and then developed that online, which gave her an opportunity and gave us an opportunity to just highlight the personality of Chrissy. So part of the process of kind of creating this identity with Chrissy was, which was different to maybe working for an organisation or a business, was that we spent time with Chrissy. We sat down, we had conversations, and it was from those meetings that we unearthed her personality, and then we've tried to bring that online through the website, through a series of intimate photographs and a series of her training and just getting to know who she is, I think, more than anything. I'll quickly touch on the Sharp project. This is a building, I don't know if you're familiar with Sharp project building, on Oldham Road, which is an area, it's the old Sharp electronics building. And we were asked to create an identity for, at the time, there was nothing, the building was quite derelict, there's work to be done. So the identity was to kind of understand and highlight the ethos of the building. So the display here is a real-time visual, not actually live, but a real-time visual of the amount of input that goes into the building against the amount of output coming out of the building. So over the course of 24 hours, 7 days a week, this logo would just be a constant moving entity. And then a series of things would then be grabbed and played and detailed across all the marketing material. The Virgin Money, I just quickly touch on Virgin Money. We were asked to introduce a concept of everyone's better off, which was one of their financial offerings. And it was a credit card aimed at marathon runners. And we took the concept of everyone's better off, the idea of the card that was every time someone used the card, a percentage of the money would go to a chosen charity by the runner, which made it really unique, as no other card offered that. So we looked at the concept of everyone's better off, and we looked into Japanese Renga poetry, and the idea of this everyone's better off being a constant, but tying it into the marathon. So it would be for every 6 a.m. start, for every aching limb, etc., which would just echo and just highlight the kind of the ups and downs of what it is like to be a marathon runner, to train and to go down to the expo to pick up your race bib the day before, the morning of, and then of course running the marathon. So we created a huge space within the Excel Centre, which was 70 metres by 30 metres, which had a public stage. Again, people could engage and interact with the brand. And then we ran a series of every poems, which was really interesting to have poetry at a sporting event. So what we found was quite interesting. We ran a series of postcards throughout the event where people could write down their own every, and they were then kind of posted into a post box. And the idea that we would then create a poetry book, which would then be mailed out as a souvenir for all those that had run the marathon. And at the end, the last message was, because of every line crossed, every mission accomplished, every penny raised, everyone's better off. I'll just talk about Oakley. We were approached by Oakley about 12 months ago, and it was to launch a competition, and the competition was to win a luxury ski trip. But what we were quite keen to use was the concept of the QR codes, which tied in quite well with the idea of the technology involved with Oakley as a brand. So we pitched the idea of using QR codes in the window, and we were really pleased that they went for that concept, and very brave of them. We installed a series of window displays around the UK, and we had to disperse street teams to explain the concept of QR codes, which was quite interesting, because I know in other parts of the world, I know in the Far East, that QR code readers are now accepted as standard in most mobile phones, whereas over here they are quite a new phenomenon. So we employed the street teams to explain the technology involved, and by photographing these QR codes, they then linked to the holiday competition. And just to quickly touch on 423 has a compartment called Cause, and this is where we do non-client related work, and arguably where we have most fun. And we dedicate studio time, a certain percentage of the week, to projects, thoughts and ideas. Ideas included releasing a single, large screen prints, putting on many events, one of which ties into an outlet, which Bren touched on, which is our kind of public facing area 423, which is the coffee house downstairs from the studio. So we're based on the third floor in Carvers, and kind of kept away upstairs behind the screens. But downstairs is a real opportunity to meet people and talk about 423, but also share what we call like our cause elements, I guess. And we run a series of film nights, poetry sessions. We've now become more of a music venue. So that's a real release of 423, and as a culture of the studio, it's nice to be able to give a certain percentage back to everyone at 423 that works there, and they can do their own exciting projects, I guess. And just quickly touch on this as inspiration. This was released last week, which is the 48-hour magazine, experimenting using new tools to erase media's old limits. And I love the concept that this was written, collated, illustrated, designed in 24 hours, and then printed the next day, and then released on the third day. So it was a series of 48 hours. Contributors from all over the globe came together and produced one kind of magazine, which I thought was quite interesting. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Daryl. And we've got our last presentation of the day, after which we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. Brendan Dawes with Magnetic North.
Thank you. When I was asked to do this by Bren, I said, "Yeah, I'll come along. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, show some cool shit." And then I saw, thank you. Then I saw what the title of the session was called, and it was called Future of Design. I was like, okay, no pressure then. So, who asked did you ask the future of design? What is the future of design? Yeah. I'm going to attempt to answer that in my own little way. I'm not really going to show you any of our work, really, apart from one project. And the future of design for me is about several things. One is context, which I'll talk about, and also the fact that Darren just touched on it there with that 48-hour magazine was there's these amazing tools available now, today, that are, if you're a designer working in this space, designer, developer, programmer, coder, whatever, if you're a creative person, this is an amazing time to be doing this work. And if you moan about that, go fuck yourself. Because, go and get another job. I passed a guy today on the way to work, and he passed me holding a pizzas any size, $9.99 sign as he walked down the street. And I thought, that's a bad job. And I'm lucky, and so, and now as a designer, totally amazing time, and what I think the future of design is very much about becoming your own brand. Every single person in this room can become their own brand with the tools that are available now. And we can make our own stuff as well as making stuff for clients. So, and also it's about, putting stuff in the world that is a source of debate and to provoke reaction, and screwing everything else and not really caring what anyone thinks, having a vision, blah, blah, blah. So on our own site, we made it like this, and we just wanted to provoke reaction with this because everyone was making blogs for their, design companies were, everything was always, it looked so homogenous, and we were like, God, maybe there's something else out there, to play with, and maybe there's another way to consume information. So we put this out there, and what I love about this site is, well, one, it breaks the grid. I am a big fan of the grid, but we thought maybe there's something else as well out there. This is because the grid was made for print, and this is an interactive medium, so the grid is constantly changing, so we could play with that. And the other thing I love is there's an infinite number of pages. The idea of pages is completely dead on this site, and also that it actually divides opinion. I hate mamby-pamby, grey areas, don't really know. I hate all that. So you either love this site or you hate this site. And we had a great email the other day that I put online, because you have to be honest. And it just said, you are the worst design agency in the world, you know nothing, your portfolio is shit, blah, blah, blah. And we put it out there online. It's like, this has made us laugh. And then, you've also got, the next email is, we love you guys, so it's, you can't appeal to everyone. So But now what we're doing, and this is why I think it's really important and a really exciting time in the design sphere, is we can make our own stuff and we don't have to wait for a brief from people. And we want to, our overriding thing is to actually solve problems that maybe people don't really know exist. And also, the other overriding thing is we don't want to put more crap in the world. You know, there's enough crap out there. So we have to consider what we're doing as designers as well, which also is about sustainability, et cetera, et cetera. So this is our latest product that we make ourselves, and it's a real physical product, and it's called MoviePeg, and we launched it 8 weeks ago, and it's a kind of, for me, I think for us it's one of the best things we've ever made, and it's a lesson in simplicity. You know, design is about taking things away, not adding things. So you know, there's that old adage, you know when something's finished when there's nothing left to take away, and there is absolutely nothing left to take away from this product. But it's so what it is, it's an iPhone stand. And you can put it at different angles. It also works portrait. It comes in 6 colours. Available from all good retailers. So, and you know, we are not product design. I've never been to product design school ever. I haven't even been to school, by the way. But you know, we just thought, let's just make this. We can find how we make this stuff. We've just got an idea. Let's do it. And so we put some time into it, and that's what we did. And we made a website where we could sell it, because we can make websites, we know that stuff. Yeah. It's, the iPad one is coming. I had a meeting. Yes, absolutely. So, and that's what everyone is asking, you know. And yeah, so, and Jason Bradbury from the Gadget Show is like, can I have the iPad one? You know, I'm writing my 3rd novel on it, you know, so, like he would do. And what's been interesting for us with this project is the fact that, you know, creating a brand from scratch and then people really loving it. I mean, this thing has gone nuts. It's been in Wired and lots of other places, and it still continues to grow every day. It's available in Liberties and Colette in Paris and various other places. So, and you know, we just put this out there. We didn't market test it. We didn't do any of that crap. We believed in it ourselves, put it out there, and you know, and this is totally born out of all the other design that we do that is interactive stuff. It's all still connected. You know, and what do? You iterate as a massive part of the design process. So you can see that this is the one that I made out of cardboard, and then you can see this. So this is the actual journey of the product, and you can see, you know, it's got pretty ugly at one point. And you know, but when we got this one, we're like, oh, that's cool. It's like it's awful. And then, you know, and then this one, you know, it's all right. And then we got this one. This is actually made of rubber. This one, and we thought, oh, that's quite nice, right? But now you look at it compared to this one, which is a finished thing, and this is like, this top bit is quite ugly because there's something about this as the proportions are right. And the reason is because we use a lot of mathematics in our work, and so we know about things like the golden rectangle and the golden ratio. So the proportion of this to this is the golden ratio. And, you know, as Da Vinci found out, some reason why, we don't really know why, but it makes things appear beautiful. So that's the difference between the black one and the yellow one. So, as I touched on before though, context is really, really interesting. But I have a question before we move on to that. Can someone answer this? Why does the iPhone do this? This for me is probably the best thing about the iPhone. I love my iPhone. But this is the thing that makes the iPhone. It's the moments in between, the bits unseen. And these are the kind of things that maybe if it was another company that wasn't Apple, that these kind of things would be removed from user testing. Because it's like, well, it doesn't really do anything. There ain't nothing behind there. Why is it doing that? What's the point of it? And it does actually communicate that it's the end of the page. It actually has a reason. But you know what? It's just nice. It just feels human. And these things, you know, they are not things made by engineers as such. They're just very human things that make devices more personable to you. So I love that stuff. And the other thing with the iPhone, I think this is where I think this is a really interesting space as for everyone in the room who's designing. And Paolo Antonelli said this, who is the chief curator of design at MoMA. And she said, this device, when it is off, so it does not communicate, and this is an important point, it does not communicate what it does at all when you look at it, right? So a phone, traditionally a phone, you looked at a phone, you went, it's a phone. I know what it does. I don't have to touch it. I understand it. The affordance is there. It's a phone. It will always be a phone. You know, a Nokia with a head stuck up their arse. That's what they were doing. You know, they were constantly making more phones. And it was always going to be a phone. But with a device, not just these, but devices like this, it becomes something else when you pump some software into it. And that is like really, really interesting. Because this to me is a magical device. And it can be mutated into anything we want it to be. And that for me is the future of design. That us as, because and there's 4 of MN inside in the, I know half the people in this room, you could just come round for tea or something. But yeah, there's 4 of MN there. And you know, we understand software, we're fascinated with software and code. And code is, like the WoW guys, is just as much a part of design as well. So when you start to have a device like this that you can turn into anything you want it to be, that becomes very, very exciting. And equally, the iPad is that times 10. Because as Adam was saying to me the other day, he said, you know, that it's called an iPhone, but the iPad is called the iPad. So it's much more of a blank canvas. And so that is like really, really exciting. So finally, to end, so I could end with some like really cool stuff to show you. So there's like, so I weighed up the, cool stuff, or the inside of my wife's handbag. Well, there's only one winner, and it's the inside of my wife's handbag. This is what I'm going to end on. So this for me is one of the most important images I have on my hard disk, and because to me this tells us where things are going. So my wife is not a games player. She's not into computers. She has a laptop which she uses, but that's just to facilitate the shopping that she does online. That's what she doesn't work with computers in any way, shape or form. And we were sat at Manchester Airport one day waiting to get on a flight. And she's not a game player or anything like that. And she turned to me and said, I think I want one of those Nintendo DS things. And I was like, what? It was like, okay, where's my wife gone? What have you done? You know, she's been like swapped, her brain's been swapped at night. So I was like, are you sure? I said, yeah, I think, I have one of those brain training things. So we then went away, came back, went out to Comet straight away, got her one, and now she uses it, and now she has an iPhone. But what's interesting about this picture is, for me at least, maybe I just need to get out more, but is a handbag, everything in it has to be justified why that's there, okay? So everything has a reason to be. So we have a Christian Dior mascara, some mints, a moleskin, a diary. The yellow thing is a sunglasses case. We've got tissues. We've got our purse. We've got the bills to be paid. And in the middle, we've got the Nintendo DS, because she feels it's worthwhile to have it. This like cutting edge device is now nestled with her every single day. And that to me is a massive paradigm shift for us as designers and society as a whole. And so I think the biggest thing that we can learn is observe. This is what I think we need to observe. These are the things that we need to look at, not looking at other web design on design portals. Bores me to death. I'd rather look inside my wife's handbag with her permission. But this tells me more about where things are going from a design point of view than looking in creative review. Sorry, that's just how it is for me. And that's it. Thank you very much. I get the train every day, and which goes through Wigan, which isn't inspirational by any stretch of the imagination. But it's I always find it like this kind of moving lab of human behaviour. Why does the ticket inspector always, a lot of the time he calls me sir when he doesn't call other people sir? I think it's because I've got grey hair. So visually I'm communicating something to him that he probably doesn't even register, and I don't know, is it hairist? I don't know, maybe. So I don't know, it's, there is one thing that happened to me, this was a while back, I've told it before, but you probably might not have heard it, but I was on a train, and I fell asleep and I woke up. I'll tell it very quickly. And I woke up and there was litter on the seat in front of me. And I looked at it and I just thought, Broken Britain, Daily Mail, blah, blah, blah. And then I noticed that on one of the pieces of paper it said PTO, please turn over. And so I was like, I've got to turn that piece of paper over. I can't not. What is it? What's on that other side of that piece of paper? So I pick it up and I look at it and I turn it over and it says, please take these swans. All right. So I think I'm in some kind of weird David Lynch film at this point. And so I look again and the bits that I thought were litter were actually two origami swans that had been left on the seat. This is true, by the way. Two origami swans left on the seat. And this is like a few years ago this happened. So this doesn't happen every day. But, and I was like, I took her home and I burst through the door. My wife was like, origami swans, check this out. So, and she was like, whatever. But I think it sort of demonstrates that, well, there's several things that I love the fact that they put this like narrative suspense in there. They could have just put that message on the front of the paper, but PTO is like, there's this added suspense. And the fact that, I've been doing this journey for like 10 years, and but occasionally wonderful things can happen on that same mundane journey. You just got to look for them.
That's going to be really hard to follow up. That's okay. Okay. Maybe I can ask Takashi and Mika actually, of your journey within the UK so far, your trip on this artist residency, have you been inspired in any way? No.
Actually, we've been inspired by traditional British food a lot, like green mashed peas or
mushy peas.
Yeah, joking, but I don't know. I feel like for Takashi, it's the first time to visit England, but I used to live in London for 1 year, so I really feel the difference between Manchester and London, people, culture, everything, and I really enjoy the atmosphere and engagement with all people in Manchester because I don't know, somehow it would be a northern taste in England and people are very warmer or because Takashi is living and working in Sendai, the northwest city of Japan, so it's Sendai and Manchester. Yeah, it's similar somehow. Very, how to say, northern spirit. Yeah, but I'm working and living in Tokyo, but I really enjoy, how to say, very, yeah. Inspire everything.
Okay. And Chris, any particular occasion or anything you've been doing recently to maybe even accidentally kind of feed your enthusiasm?
I don't know. There's lots of stuff. The stuff I like the most when it isn't usually anything to do with design, and then that's really nice. I like just doing something where you either, I don't know. I think I said it a bit in my talk, but I remember you speak to some people and they're just stuff they do, like with John Bowman, he like tells you all these stories and stuff, and it's nothing to do with design at all, but it's just the stuff he has, the people who've lived their lives. And one thing that really inspired me about when I spoke to him was I find that sometimes you're quite dismissive of people when you don't know them, and he would always go out of his way to speak to like security guards, or like for the Umbro job there's a security guard there, and he would always go out of his way to go and speak to him and chat to him. And he would start telling these stories, and you stand there and listen to him, and like you realise where this guy's come from and why he's here and what he's doing here and all the stuff that's related to that person. It's like amazing, and like for me, it makes me feel like a bit of a bad person that sometimes you wouldn't do that, and like you wouldn't go out of your way to speak to those people when really maybe they've got these amazing stories to share with you that would impact you in a massive way.
Do we have any questions from the audience for the panel? Just had to pass the mic.
Just with the guy who's making those iPod stands, we're talking a little bit about the future of design. I'm not a designer. I'm just curious about the manufacturing or the virtualization of manufacturing, because I read a lot about how essentially you can send a design off to some random factory somewhere and essentially not touch the product at all. I mean, is that something you've done, or have you chosen to get deeply involved in the physical kind of production of those devices, and how does that affect you as a designer?
As exercise. There are places that you can send stuff off. So there's a place called Pinoco.com, which is brilliant, and they can make things out of plastics and wood, and in fact I made some luggage tags which I haven't got with me actually, but you do these designs in Photoshop and send it off, and you get this piece of wood back, and which I find fascinating because I was crap at woodwork. So now I can press a few buttons and have a beautiful turned piece of wood. But for this, we're actually using a supplier in the Northwest, someone we've worked with before, because a lot of this stuff is about relationship. And I think when we get into huge numbers, then we'll probably be off to China, yeah. But right now, I think what people don't realise is it's funny, that when it's a very simple thing, people think it's simple to make. And there's if you look it up, there's an article called iPencil, which is a very famous article about what goes in to make a pencil, and it's horrendous. And, and I'm not saying that our thing is the same complexities, but, you see like tweets going, there's one guy who said, I've had a great idea, put a slot in a piece of plastic and sell it. Oh, someone's already done it. Like taking the piss. But what they don't realise is that it's actually been quite hard to get that plastic material right, because you wouldn't believe there was one version we had, and it actually had jettisoned the phone because of the way the plastic was made up. And then there was other ones where the actual plastic sunk a little bit, it wasn't flat, and all these things that you don't really think about. Well, and then, how does it feel and all this kind of thing. So we've now got the guy who's been making them, he drove to our office the other week because he'd really cracked the final design. And he's basically got a secret formula of two polymers and the material now is really beautiful, but it's had to iterate over time. But it looks very simple on it. It's just looks like a piece of plastic with a slot in it, but yeah, we have, yeah, and because he's, you know what, he's also into it. You know, he's real, and he's excited by the feedback. So yeah, it's important, that relationship thing. We always say that risk requires partners, and the best example of that is the opening scene of Bonnie and Clyde with Faye Dunaway, and that, you know, Clyde Barrow is a bit of a bad boy, but it takes Faye Dunaway to come into the mix and ebb him on to be a bank robber, and it's all very sexual and stuff in it. But you know, it's so. And I just thought to myself, well, risk requires partners to work together. So, yeah.
Any more questions from the audience?
As a follow-up to that, with FabLab, people can sort of make these sort of things themselves. I know you're saying that it's a specific polymer, but there's other things that people can. It's easy to copy. Does that worry you that manufacturing is now being pushed out and become more accessible, that your designs can be copied more?
No, because anything can be copied, you know, and you can have all the patents in the world. Like there's a thing called a little giant ladder. Have you seen this thing? It's like 11 ladders in one. Amazing. It's covered in patents, and I bought a copy from B&Q. You know, so it's no. I think if you hold on to your idea, you know, you're going to just die. Think of another idea then, you know, think of 100 ideas every day. And we sort of, you know, I think someone already made one out of some other material. One of the tweets was, great, I'll make one out of wood. And we didn't go, our lawyers are going to be in touch, you know. It's just like, that's cool. You know, that's the kind of world we live in, I think. And sort of, you know, if you want to make your own, then great. Most people won't, though. My mum ain't going to sit there on a lathe making, you know, and I'm not talking, I know you're not talking about my mum, but, you know, generally, we sort of, yeah. I think that's fantastic, though. I think it's, you know, if we make these things and we can make them a lot easier. There's a shop in Toronto called Umbra, and they're a big design thing in Canada, like a sort of IKEA for design. And you can stand there and draw a design, and they'll make it on the spot. And well, it takes about 5 hours, but it's you have a rapid prototyping machine in the shop, and it's so cool. And you know, you wouldn't be able to use it for much; it'd break. But I'd love the fact that we can now have, you know, and rapid prototyping machines are becoming like really cheap. So, you know, you can have them on your desk and just make stuff. I think the hardest thing is what you're gonna make. You know, because you get this thing and you go, that's cool, right? I don't know what to make with it. So, yeah.
Any more questions from the audience? Or one at the front.
Currently, there's the system is usually you've got the manufacturing company who makes the product, sells it, and commissions the design. Now, if you're talking about design companies starting to take the lead on projects, then for them to not become one-off curiosities, or I'm not accusing you or anything like that, but to try and get them so they can have equal amount of market. I don't know. There's probably some really good word for that, but out there, you need to be like a big corporation and have all the sales and things like that. Now, if designers can take the lead on thinking of a product and trying to see how it could be manufactured, what role could companies then change their role, who are the manufacturers, to fill in the kind of long-term things like having the sales links and being able to market these products? Could they adapt to fit in with this idea that designers can lead?
So, sorry, just to say, so a product that you would then take out, that you'd design yourself, and then could be produced, rapid manufactured, and then it's talking about the sales of that and how you promote that.
One good example, I guess, is with the iPhone. You've got applications designed at home, then sold out there, and Apple's kind of pushing that, and they push it on their platform. Is there equivalent? Can there be an equivalent for that, or any ideas of how that model can be taken to physical objects?
Might be one for you, Brendan, that.
Sorry. Well, I'm not aware. That's the hardest bit. That is absolutely the hardest bit. And that, it's like we're trying to talk to Apple Retail, you know, and we've got, even with all the buzz about our product, it's still hard because it comes down to knowing the right people. You know, so that I think that's a really important point because, like you say, it just becomes a niche thing. I think it's easier these days to have a product that you can do yourselves and get a lot of attention with. But it's difficult, and I don't think anyone's cracked that yet because you need the Tesco's, you know, and Tesco's are gonna destroy you on the price point. And so you think, right, well, that's a real skill to negotiate. We're not negotiators, you know, so, right, okay. But the thing is, you can buy someone who is a great negotiator. So I think you have to buy into the system, maybe. So.
Okay, I think we're 15 minutes over already, so I'd like to thank all our panellists today for attending, and especially Wow Design, who actually pre-selected the panel, and what a great panel it was. So thanks very much.